Hello, hello, everyone. Bree Sedano here, coming to you live on this Tuesday morning. I am in Connecticut. That's where I live. And today is like one of the really first beautiful days of spring when it's sunny, the birds are singing, the flowers are blooming, and I'm just real pumped about that. Also, today we're going to talk about debt and how debt can be a catalyst for growth and expansion. And I love this talk and I love giving people the news. Sometimes I like look at somebody's situation, I look at their money and I'm like, oh, girl, it's time for you to grow. It's time for you to grow into this. And that is actually one of my little favorite nuggets of advice to give. So, I'm going to talk about those things with you today. Very excited about that. So, if this is your first time getting to meet me, my name is Bree Sedano. I'm a personal finance expert. I am the founder of the Cash Confident community. And inside that community, we are teaching women to build their most delicious, most delightful dream life ever using cash as a tool, not just like paper cash, but using their money as a tool. To kind of get that job done. And so if this is your first time ever catching me live, please say hello. If you are somebody who watches all of the time, also please say hello. It's way more fun to do these talks and teach you things when I know that you're here and that you're engaging with me. And also, as we get into this, feel free to tag a friend, feel free to share my work, feel free to send it to anybody that you think would benefit. And if you're inside of the Cash Confident community with Bree Sedano on Facebook, please feel free to invite a friend, anybody that you think would enjoy my content. All right, so that's my little starter spiel. So let's get into it. All right, so one of the common oh hey Lois, one of the common like paradigms around debt is that debt is wrong, debt is bad, you're an idiot if you have debt, if you have debt because you make bad financial choices, that you should sacrifice everything current in your life until your debt is paid off. I've heard somebody even say that you shouldn't see an inside, if you have debt, you shouldn't see the inside of a restaurant unless you're working at it, which I thought was an um, interesting idea. I've had clients tell me that somebody has told them that they should literally eat rice and beans until they're out of debt, and there's another financial guru uh, proclaiming that bologna sandwiches will get you out of debt. Right? Can we just get like a heart or a like or a yuck, yuck in the comments for how that makes us feel? Right? I don't know. When I hear that, when I've ever heard that somebody said that somebody gave them financial advice that they should eat bologna sandwiches until they're out of debt. I was like, ew, ew, what a weird piece of advice, right? Yes, thank you. All right. So listen, there are lots. I know you guys crack me up. Somebody's got yuck, and then we got a little pukey face in the comments there. So here's where I'm going with this: is debt is generally the result of needing money, right? That's generally why people borrow money. They need money, they don't have the money, and so they borrow some money. Um, and sometimes that can be done from a place of, I don't know, like interesting choices. Sometimes it could be scarcity. Sometimes, like, listen, there are not every single dollar that's borrowed is like a great choice. That's not where I'm going with this. But sometimes here's what I see is that as human beings, we have this paradox of internal conflict, right? There's always part of every single person that wants to grow and expand, that wants more, that wants to be more, that wants to do more, that wants more adventure, that wants to make more money, that wants more impact, that wants more purpose, that wants more whatever, right? And every single person's like thumbprint on purpose is going to be different, right? So some people are driven for more impact, some people want more space, some people want more land to like grow a garden or whatever else. Like it's up to you. And then there's a part of us that wants to be safe, that wants to be small, that wants to make sure that we're not going to get hurt, right? And this is the internal conflict. This is like the paradox of being a human. It's like you want to grow and expand at the exact same time you want to stay safe and stay small. And every day we have a choice to grow and expand. or to stay safe and stay small, right? So it's just an interesting perspective. And so when I'm looking at clients' debt, a lot of times one of those things that I am figuring out with them is, did you subconsciously get into this debt to basically force your hand into growth and expansion? And here's what that will typically look like: is I will see credit card debt that like bought a certification for a new thing, or bought like classes to start your own business, or marketing to start your own business, or all of the, like, a new computer to start an Etsy store. And it's not always necessarily to start a business, but a lot of times it is. And so when I see something like that, I'm like, dude, that to me looks like growth and expansion. To me, that looks like you're using credit that you have available to help get you ready for whatever's next, whether or not it's starting a business or whatever it is. And to me, that looks like growth and expansion. Now, if I see somebody really unclear about where their money's going, really spending a lot of money toward things that don't exactly make a difference in their lives, make them happy, whatever. Generally, when I see something like that, we're going to look at their spending and see it's not so much about cutting their spending back, it's about making their spending on purpose. It's like it's redirecting their spending into something intentional, right? And also that is some growth and expansion. And so listen, not everybody is motivated toward pleasure, right? Like there's people's motivation generally works in two different directions. It's to avoid pain or to seek pleasure. Generally, that's going to be like the underlying current of somebody's motivation. That's going to be the way that it goes. And so when it comes to really looking at our debt, we really want to ask ourselves, like, is this like, could I grow into this? Right? Like, I'm going to tell you a story to kind of ground this and make it into like a little bit more like real life. So when I was a stockbroker, I was doing okay. I was like a reasonably successful. I was not making a ton of money just yet. I'd started kind of new. And when I went to hire my first business coach, I felt like a certain kind of desperate for like a flavor of training. Like I could get people in my office, but I wasn't really great at closing sales. And I didn't really like, I knew that I did a lot of work and that I wasn't charging for it. And like, there was all of this stuff that kind of felt like I felt really trapped in that. And so I saw a Facebook ad for somebody whose messaging like was so on point when they were talking to me that I didn't click the ad and go through their funnel. I scrolled on, and then I like remembered, and in the morning I went and I found this lady's website and I just called her like on her cell phone that was like listed somewhere on her website. And I was like, "Hey, I saw your ad, and like, what do you do? Tell me, like, sell me something." And so I borrowed $10,000 to hire my first business coach. At the time, that was a wild amount of money for me, like a nonsensical like amount of money that didn't like the, honestly, it was such a big leap. It was like it was so scary to do that. And I borrowed that money, and once I had like some training on like closing sales and creating offers and charging appropriate prices, for the level of service that I was bringing, within probably like a month, I'd went from like $3,000 4,000 a month. I think I had a $7,000 or $8,000 a month the next month, and like 2 months later, I was at 12, and within a year, I was hitting $25,000 months of revenue, right? And that borrowing that money was the catalyst for that growth. Like it gave me the opportunity, but it also put some pressure on me to like stay with it. Cause I was like, well, shit, man, if this doesn't work, like I'm stuck with this tab. Like I paid this money, like I'm stuck with this bill. And so all of the times where it was like a little squishy or I was uncomfortable or whatever, like the pressure of that debt helped keep me on track. And so I see this sort of thing happening with a lot of clients. And it's interesting because a lot of times when it's time to grow, there are reasons that they're very legitimate reasons that we don't want to. right? I talked with a woman yesterday who has got some credit card debt. She wants to make some changes, that's that. And then she says to me, she's like, she basically says to me, I want all of what it like I want all of the results in my life of making more money, but I'm not willing to switch jobs. That's what she says to me. She's like, "Well, really like my job. I have this and this and this, and I have these kind of benefits." And I was like, "Well, listen, lady, your credentials don't match your paycheck." I was like, you're highly credentialed and you're not making a ton of money, and that's fine, but you're telling, it's time for you to grow because you're telling me that everything that you want is bigger than what you can make happen in this current position, right? Give me a heart or a like or a yes if you're with me. Like, I just want to make sure these things are like slightly ethereal and they're nuanced. It's a nuanced topic, so I just want to make sure that you're clear. So when I'm talking to clients about their debt, like one of the first things I'm figuring out is like, do we have a lack of clarity issue that's causing the debt? Do we have like a habitual spending problem? Do we have like issues of not being able to save money, not being prepared, right? Because all of those things will cause debt. Or are we really getting in debt because the truth is, like, we really want a life that will require us to grow and we're not ready to do the thing just yet. But if we get into the debt, then all of a sudden we're going to have the pain point of our cash flow getting tight, and then the motivation, right? Like some people's motivation is to get out of pain, so we'll create the pain to get the motivation to go to the next level, right? And and this is a very real thing. Like not everybody's motivation works the same way, and I don't think that there's even really a reason to try to get your motivation to be different. Some people are motivated to get out of pain, and some people are motivated to like seek better, to seek pleasure, right? And so if it's time for you to grow and you're not willing to do the hard things, like to seek the pleasure, which like fair enough, that makes sense. Like I don't know, my motivation is it swings. Sometimes I'm motivated to get something I really want, but a lot of times I'm motivated to get out of pain. So if you're not willing to take the steps just to seek the pleasure, if you're like, it's not that bad, I could tolerate this, this is cool, then sometimes we have to like give ourselves the pain point. And so we borrow the money, we let our cash flow get tight, our cash flow gets uncomfortable, and then we'll make the moves. And so that's really how debt can be a catalyst for growth and expansion. And so even the people who use their credit cards, like in and let's call it irresponsible or things that are really unaligned to what they're doing, right? Like if they're really unclear, there's really no clarity, they really maybe have spending habits that need to like a cleanup or whatever. A lot of times that's still, you have to really look at yourself to get out of credit card debt. You have to really look. You have to really grow as a person to get out of this mess that you made, right? Like you have to look and see what happened here. What did I do? What what was I trying to buy? Was I solving time problem with my money? Was I solving an energy problem with my money? Was I buying emotional states? You know, like like if you have a lot of debt, a lot of times something in your life something's got to move, something's got to change. And so both sides, there's really a lot of room for growth and expansion. And one of the things that I think really gets in the way of that growth and expansion is the shame, is the guilt, is the self hatred, disgust, feeling really bad about yourselves, right? Like I promise you that shit does not help. It doesn't help you get out of debt. It doesn't help build your relationship with money. It doesn't help cultivate any sense of self-trust. Like it's just a really unhelpful thing. And I think a lot of what like the mainstream conversation about money is that you're dumb if you have debt, that that you make bad choices, that there's something wrong with you, that you're irresponsible, right? Like people carry a lot of emotional baggage with their debt. If that's something that resonates with you, if you're hearing me, if you're with me, just let me know, like, yeah, like that's heavy, or you know, I don't know, a heart or a like or something. Like whatever, just let me know that you're with me on these things. So I think that the way that we look at debt really helps our ability to stick with a plan. It really helps our ability to just kind of move past it. When we look at our situation and we feel really guilty and really shameful and really embarrassed and like there's something wrong with us, then um like that's like honestly none of it helps and it usually exacerbates the debt problem. And so when I'm working with clients on getting out of debt and staying out of debt and paying off their debt once and for all, and also maybe your healthy relationship with debt isn't a $0 debt balance, and that's also fine. I have plenty of clients who use debt responsibly, who use debt as a tool, who use debt to make investments, who use debt to free up cash flow. And as long as that's in control and that makes sense to you and you're doing it on purpose with intention and you're using it as a tool, debt is a fine thing to do. Like it just helps you pay for things over time rather than all at once. There's nothing inherently right or wrong, good or bad about debt. It's just a tool. You know what I mean? It'd be like if I was really judging these sunglasses. These sunglasses are so wrong. And if you need sunglasses, it's because you're bad at seeing. Like it's like, no, they're just sunglasses. um And so anyways, where I'm going with this is when I'm working with clients, a lot of times we have to change those feelings around debt. And when you look at your debt as the catalyst for some growth and expansion, as the catalyst, as the mover, to look at yourself deeper, to change the way that you do things, to shift the things in your life that are causing this drag, right? Because like if you've got debt, chances are there's that's not the only place your life is dragging. You may have a lot of clutter. You may be stretched too thin. You may be exhausted. You may find that your time's always out the window. Like there's generally something else. That's usually not the first place the drag shows up, right? And so I like to really shift this because I think once people see like, oh, maybe I did this to myself just to get this growth and expansion, instead of being in this shame and guilt and feeling bad and feeling stupid and feeling wrong, they're so much more effective at one, getting out of the credit card debt, but also then they get the growth and expansion. All right, I'm going to tell you one story to wrap this up, and then I'm going to talk about the Cash Confident community. Actually, I'm going to throw the link in there, which is open right now. So I was talking with a client recently who's got some credit card debt, and it's a lot for her cash flow, right? It's a lot for what, like, for her money in, money out. The the amount of she's making in these minimum payments is a lot. It doesn't leave much room to spend money on things. It doesn't leave much room to go out to dinner. You know what I mean? Like it's just a tight situation, cash flow. And so we have a call and we're talking, and she tells me, I was like, well, what were you buying with your credit cards? Like, what kind of stuff are you looking at, right? Because I want to get to the root of this. So before we come up with a strategy, I want to figure out, what's going on. She was like, well, I bought she wants to be like a life coach, right? She wants to be a life coach. So she bought a life coaching certificate program, and she went through it, and she's licensed as a life coach. And I was like, okay, cool. Great. And I was like, and what else? And she was like, well, I bought this marketing course so that way I could learn how to do my marketing and, start getting clients. And I was like, okay, cool. And then she bought a couple other things for this business. And I was like, all right. And then she's asking me, right? We're on the phone. She's asking me to tell her how stupid she is, and so how she should cut back and da da da. And she wants to go back to smaller and safer. She's already made the investments to have the expansion, but now it's time to take action on the expansion. Learning is not the same thing as starting a business. Taking a course about life coaching is not the same thing as putting yourself out there as a life coach. Putting yourself out there as a life coach is the scary part. Learning, you spend the money and you go to the class, but you're learning. School's not anywhere near as scary as actually doing the thing. And so we're talking, and I was like, oh no. If I tell you to cut back and we shift your focus off of this business that you've already got, tens of thousands of dollars into, and you want me to tell you to cut back and go smaller, you're gonna end up with that credit card debt for decades to come. It's gonna get into your retirement plans. Absolutely not, lady. You made that investment. You took the actions. You have the certification. You have the information that you need to market. Like, get online and do the thing. I was like, if you could sell a handful of hours or packages or whatever, however it is, that debt is going to be easy to pay off. It's going to be adorable. It's going to be like this cute little bill that you get to pay. Then you're going to be able to have the lifestyle that you actually want, which is traveling and maybe not working full time, and being able to make some upgrades in your house and being able to pay for the things that you want. I was like, like, you're not going to get me to tell you to shrink back right now. You have already made the investments. You're already committed to this, lady. Like, you're not getting away with not paying that bill, right? Unless, I mean, she could always declare bankruptcy or whatever, but that was not necessary or probably the right choice for her. And so I'm like, just stick with your growth and expansion. Just stay with it, because this is the hard part. This is the part where you really got to like show up and do the things. This is the part where like the rubber meets the road. And if you use your debt as an excuse to go back and shrink and do small, you're going to have to pay it all back without the benefit of the extra income, which is why you were doing it. You got to stay on track here. So I was like, keep your focus. I mean, pay your minimums, but keep your focus, keep your financial focus, keep your energy, keep your focus on the place that you were growing and expanding, because that's the truth about what you want. And if you go that direction far enough, that debt is going to become small. It's not going to be a big deal, right? Like, if you were making an extra few $1,000s a month, which is not that hard in a life coaching online practice, because there's very low expenses to get that kind of business started. I was like, if you were just doing that, you'd pay your debt back. But if we go and we shrink back, that debt is going to be big for the next 15 years. All right, let me know if you're with me. Right? Give me a thumbs up if you want that lady to stay on track. Right? Give me if you're with me on seeing what I see on the growth and expansion front. All right, so that is my talk on growth and expansion. Yes. All right, but I do want to mention, so listen, the Cash Confident Community membership is open for enrollment right now. There are a few days left that it's open, and then we're going to be closing it for a while. And the Cash Confident Community membership is for anybody, everybody, ladies who want to be in a different financial place. And the way that we do that, and the way that I think that is so fucking cool and so different and so, to toot my own horn blatantly, just better than all of the other crap that you're seeing, all of the other financial experts, is that I really look at things like as a holistic view, right? So when I'm looking at my clients' money, I'm never just looking at their money. I'm looking at their money in the context of their whole life, right? And so when we're working together in the Cash Confident community, there's really 5 pillars that we're looking at. Look at, somebody says it's an amazing group, and it is. It's really like one of the best places that you can learn money. All right, so we work on financial strategy, we work on like habits, actions, behaviors, we work on money mindset, we work on the emotional intelligence, and we have a community of like love and support and encouragement. And so inside of the membership, the way that things go, like how I deliver on all of the content, is we have a live course that rolls, right? And so like right now we're doing Find Your Bleed, which teaches you how to spend your money intentionally, right? We're live right now, and I'm doing that. And then we will do the Invisible System to Stop Bleeding Money and Start Stacking Cash. So that way everybody that's in the program will set up like a no budget money management system, and then they'll get that done. And then we'll look at Drop the Debt, and that teaches habits and the mindset, like for how to be debt free. And then we'll do Money Mindset Bootcamp, and then we'll do 30 Days to Get a Raise, which is phenomenal work. Last year we did 30 Days to Get a Raise. Somebody got a 55% raise. There were many multi-$1,000 raises during those 30 days. Tremendous work on seeing your value, on seeing all the things you bring to the table, and like really just asking for what you want, just really tuning in, tapping into those desires, and really going in that direction. And then we have Life of Abundance, which teaches on how to like use law of attraction and how to manifest money more cleanly. So we do those courses live. So, right, because the live course, lots of people just prefer a live course. And so there's time for questions and answers. All of that exact same content is recorded, and you already have instant access to it when you join. So that way, if you're like, oh, she's doing Find Your Bleed, but I want to do Money Mindset Bootcamp, you're welcome to do it that way. Then in terms of support, we have 6 live calls every month. So that way you get momentum, you get support, you get encouragement. Like at the end of the day, like you get what you came for, you get the results, right? And so we do money mentorship calls twice a month. And so in a money mentorship call, you bring me your money junk and then we talk about it. And then I help you sort it out. And a lot of times there's big epiphanies and people are really seeing things in different ways and making a lot of progress, right? Like on one money mindset call, I have a client who is a performer and she looked at raising her rates and we got her rates raised and she started raising her rates. And that was like instantaneously. And it's amazing the sort of stuff that we can do when we like change our mental perception around something. So twice a month we do those kind of calls. Twice a month we do transaction review calls. Transaction review calls are when you bring your transactions to the call. I review them and then I give you customized advice on what habits to change so that way you can get sustainable changes in your money easily and in a way that makes sense to you. And then we have accountability calls so that way you can get your work done. Right? They're quiet calls where we just hold space. So it's good for people who like maybe do a little procrastinating, maybe do a little avoiding, maybe want to ask some questions, those sort of things. So one of the questions I get a lot is like, wow, Brie, that's kind of a lot, like to go in there, like how much time do I really, like, what does it really take? About an hour a week is really what it takes to be super, super successful. And when I'm talking successful, I'm talking about like having a drastically different financial reality this time next year, right? Like all of this stuff happens super, super fast once you get out of your own way. And that's why we do like the mindset and the that emotional work, because that's where people are generally in their own way. But we do have the financial strategy. And then we have financial strategies on the stuff that's like, like how do I use credit and how do I pick a financial advisor and what are stock market basics and tell me a little bit about life insurance type stuff. So we have like a strategy library for those more nitty gritty like financial pieces. And then you have everything that you need to be in a drastically different spot. And I'll tell you that clients are saving so much money on like interest payments from paying off their credit cards, having money for the first time. Like even clients who are coming to those transaction reviews, like I have one client who she's saving $750 a month on food with the suggestions that I gave her it's like one of those transaction calls to spending audits. And these are the kind of results that we're seeing. We're seeing clients like recently I had a client reach out and she bought a car cash, $26,000. She paid cash. We had a client, put new countertops in, she paid cash. I had a client pay for a vacation, cash. She had the money. And I don't mean cash like paper money. I just mean she had the money. Like she was already there, right? Like one client said to me at one of our like last calls that in 22 years of marriage, it could have been 32, but let's call it 22. I don't want to be a liar. 22 years of marriage, she paid for her vacation cash for the first time ever. And that was a really big deal for her. And so we're seeing clients saving money on interest payments. We're seeing clients like use their money intentionally to get the life that they want. So that program is open right now. It's going to close pretty soon. We're not going to keep it all the way open forever. So if that sounds like something you want, go ahead and just get right in there. If you have a question or if you need to know something, feel free to shoot me a message. I would be happy to answer any questions that you got. But I hope that you learned something from our talk today. And please feel free to tag a friend. Please feel free to send this to their DMs. If you're in the Facebook group, please feel free to invite anybody that you think would like my work. All right, I love you. I appreciate you. And I'll see you on Thursday. Bye, everybody.